Hi and welcome to Media Dialogue TV. I'm Lena Kronenberger, I'm a freelance journalist and moderator, and usually I'm based in Munich, Germany, but now I'm delighted to be in Tbilisi in Georgia, and behind me is the beautiful Caucasus University. We are here with the Media Dialogue Network. What does that mean, Media Dialogue Network? So we are young, aspiring journalists, professional journalists, academics, artists, working together. People from Moldova, Georgia, Belarus, Ukraine, and Georgia, all together to talk about the freedom of press, to talk about democracy and how we can strengthen it, to talk about journalism and why it is so important. Today is day one. We started with the workshops, so young journalists are filming, editing, writing articles. And now we're going to hear from Mr. Dr. Wolfgang Ressmann. He's the head of the project and he will tell us more about it and what he hopes for these upcoming days and for the workshops. Now we're going to talk to Mr. Dr. Wolfgang Ressmann, organizer of the Media Dialogue project. Mr. Ressmann, how was the start today in Tbilisi?
I think we had a great start with great participants here from the Caucasus University who are making media products with us. We had a starting conference, we had a talk to the president of the university. We have had talks with our members of the delegations from Ukraine, Zasha Timolenko, chairman of Ukrainian Journalists Organization, with our friends from Kiev University. So I think we had a really great day with a lot of good results.
What do you think will the upcoming days bring? So what do you hope for? What are the plans?
Yeah, we have different plans, a lot of meetings. We have some meetings, and this is new with the Ukrainian embassy and with the German embassy. So I think that's important that also the German embassy, as a part of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is funding this project, gets also in touch with us for the first time here in Georgia. And we will have meetings with the Georgian Journalists Organization. The participants will have the chance to produce films, writing blogs about the things we are doing. So I'm expecting also a lot of interesting news for the audience, and even we make Media Dialogue TV.
You've been here in Georgia before. How would you describe the atmosphere in Tbilisi, in the city?
Yeah, Tbilisi is a very, very interesting city. I had been here in 1986 for the first time in Soviet times, and when you see now the big development and the change in the city, there are worlds between, and because of this big change with the conflicts we are here and the atmosphere in the whole Caucasus region, I think it's great. It's an old town with a historical, very worthy historical and impressive atmosphere. So I enjoy it to be here very much. But knowing also the whole problematic in this area in Georgia with occupied territories, near Armenia with the war in Bergkarabakh, so it's also an area where a lot of conflicts are. You can see a lot of conflicts, but this is one of the reasons we are here to discuss and make media works and responsibility of journalism in the context of the conflicts.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much. And that you can also maybe have some impressions of Tbilisi. You will now see the pictures of the day. I'm impressed by this very interesting, beautiful city, Tbilisi, and I hope you also enjoyed the photos and the impressions. Now you will see a video of our first conference of our Media Dialogue project.
Grand opening of Media Dialogue 2021 for Conflict Sensitivity and Research took place in Tbilisi, Georgia at Caucasus University. Organizers and participants talked about essential aspects of the project and shared their perspectives on different matters, such as occupation, pressured media, fake news, propaganda, and others. Among the speakers were Managing Director of OKTV Ludwig Schaffen, Dr. Wolfgang Rasman, Director of ACOS Cultural NGO in Armenia, Krtich Tonoyan, head of the Forum of Ukrainian Journalists in Lutsk, Volodymyr Daniluk, and others.
Hello, Mr. Serhiy Tomilenko. You're the president of the National Union of Journalists of Ukraine. I was wondering, in what extent would you say are journalists under pressure right now in Ukraine?
Well, really, we are talking right now about the difficult reality. This reality is caused by the war in the country. There are, unfortunately, occupied territories which create a challenging climate for the journalists. At the same time, we discuss that another problem for Ukrainian journalists is the internal political pressure. Politicians try to put the journalists under pressure. They decline any objective investigations and they say that it is a puff piece. It is important for the journalists to be brave, to go through this pressure and physical attacks, which also happen in Ukraine.
What would you consider are good measures to help these journalists in need?
The significant effort of our Union of Journalists of Ukraine is addressed to fight impunity, protection of journalists from physical attacks and pressure on the police and the government in order to secure the objective investigations and punishment of the perpetrator. Also, we actively protect freedom of speech and fight against the legal changes which limit the rights of journalists. The position of the Union of Journalists and the journalists community is focused on ensuring that the scandal law on the change of the media landscape in the parliament is still not signed. We still protect our profession of the public interest.
For me, this doesn't sound too optimistic. Do you have cases where you were successful with your work, where you could help journalists and that the attacks, went to court? And do you have positive examples?
I have some positive examples. Thanks to our effort, the special parliamentary hearings on physical safety of journalists were conducted in Ukraine, and the hotline of the Ministry of the Internal Affairs started working. And there are positive cases when the police reports that with the civic pressure, they effectively investigate, for example, in one of these regions of Ukraine, the attacker of the television group was sentenced to 2-year probational arrest. But this is the criminal punishment for attacking journalists. We work to increase the number of positive cases of protection of journalists.
Both of us, we are now in Tbilisi, in Georgia, in front of the beautiful Caucasus University. Do you see maybe similarities between Ukraine, between Georgia when it comes to the freedom of press?
Ukraine and Georgia are incredible countries as well as their population, which deserve to live in happiness and calmness. And the journalists in these countries deserve freedom of speech. At the same time, we also understand that, unfortunately, these countries have some things in common, like armed conflict in the territory of these countries. This forms the agenda for the journalists and population, but thanks to the dialogue and the peacemaking effort, achieving prosperity in these countries is possible.
Do you wish for something when it also comes to Europe? Do you want actions to be seen, something that should be done on an international level?
Many partners' programs are implemented on the international level. It is very important for the journalists, for the young journalists, to feel themselves a part of Europe and in any difficult situation count on the support. That is why we call everyone to conduct more joint international, intercultural programs to exchange experience, to have a wider perspective of the situation, as well as to realize our work based on the highest standards.
Thank you very much for this interview, Mr. Tmilenko. Thank you for watching today's Media Dialogue TV. I hope you enjoyed traveling with us to Tbilisi, Georgia. And yeah, stay tuned for the upcoming shows. Bye.